Welcome to another episode of Cars and Culture on the Road. I'm Jason Stein, host of Cars and Culture. We're here in beautiful, sunny Los Angeles, where we're going to stop in with one of the most influential car collectors and curators of our time, Bruce Meyer. He's got one heck of a collection. He has 100 stories to tell. He's got some really rare barn finds, and he's one heck of a nice guy.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me in your garage here in Los Angeles.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's what we do.
We had such a wonderful conversation on Sirius XM, and now here it is live and live in color.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have you here, and you're a real enthusiast. So
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Bruce.
We like sharing it with genuine, bona fide enthusiasts. And your cameraman, too, Alex.
And the cameraman is also very attuned as well. That's
very
right.
Very knowledgeable.
That's right. So show us around a little bit. You have an incredible collection, very eclectic.
Thank you.
And some rare stuff here.
Well, what it is 50 years of enthusiasm, really. I mean, it was never designed to be a collection, but it was buying one car at a time over 50 years, and this is what you end up with if you don't sell or you don't get divorced. Keep it simple, you know. So
one car per year.
That's probably what it amounts to.
Yeah.
I keep probably half the cars here and a bunch at the Peterson, which is my home away from home.
Yeah.
And then some at home, and we drive them. Every single car runs. Absolutely. We rally, and we just did 1,000 miles with this 1929 Bentley 4.5 liter in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which was great.
So you run this pretty hard then?
Well, you know, it goes 70, 80 miles an hour.
Really?
Oh yeah. Now we put an overdrive in it.
Okay.
But it has no trouble, you know, holding its own at those speeds. You know, Bentley won Le Mans numerous times. They won them in the 20s with cars like this. This is a 4.5 liter. They won it with a 3 and a 4.5 and a 6. And the blower is what everybody thinks of, but the blower never really did much at Le Mans. It was kind of the rabbit. It went out real quick and died.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that every car in here we drive, the Cobra behind us,
which is probably one of the most rare vehicles you have here.
You know
right?
what? It's my favorite car.
It's your favorite.
Yeah. This car we did a rally from Budapest to Prague in, so we've done the Colorado Grand in it. It's a driver, and it's truly one of my most favorite cars to drive. First of all, I know Alex likes supercars and hypercars. I'm too old. I can't. I mean, the notion of controlling a car with 1,000 horsepower, you don't get that in the zone of like you're hauling ass till you really are.
Right.
And then you're in a very dangerous zone. This car here, at 60 miles an hour, you think you're doing 160. So it makes good noise. It's my generation. It's what I grew up with, Cobras. And I'm very comfortable driving it. And as I say, 0 to 60 is probably 4 seconds. A Tesla is much quicker.
This is the original ludicrous.
This is the original ludicrous. So I'm 80 years old, 81 this year. So this was my dream car. This was my supercar.
Yeah.
And the one next to it. So if there was a theme that ran through this garage, it's Le Mans.
Yeah, clearly.
And we have 5 winners. And with Le Mans, it's like the Super Bowl, World Cup of Motorsport. You know, there's nothing more important. This is a Ferrari 61 250 SWB. They call it a Comp 61. And it's the penultimate GTO because the model that came after this was the GTO. This car and the GTO were designed by Giotto Bizzarini, who is one of the most unheralded, unsung heroes of motorsport. That's his car right there. That's a Bizzarini. That also won Le Mans.
Extremely rare.
Extremely rare.
We could do the whole show on this car and on him.
And you could do the whole show on the man, too. This car is aerodynamically amazing. He went to the university in Milan and learned all about aerodynamics, went to work for Alfa, and then Ferrari hired him away from Alfa. So he always wanted to build race cars. He went to work for Count Revolta, and they made the ESO, and the ESO Grifo, and that ESO Revolta, that type of thing. But he always wanted to go racing. So he basically built this car, drove it from Livorno to Le Mans, won its category, and drove it home.
Oh.
And this is a very original piece. It was a car that was restored by Gregor Fiskin in the UK. I've had it probably, 10 years maybe?
And you found it where?
Well, it was originally in a museum for 30 years. Gregor bought it out of the museum. I almost bought it from him at that point, and I want to say that has to be 20 years ago at least. And so I heard that Gregor had it, and I just always loved this car. I love the story. You know, everything in here has a story.
Everything has a story, including this one right
Yeah,
here.
so this is a 910 Porsche.
Goes all the way back to Mr. Piech.
Yep. The company was run by Piech, and it was run by Porsches.
Yep.
When Piech took over, you know, he wanted to build a prototype using all the Formula One technology. So this was the first one. So, you know, in the world of racing, Porsche had basically, you know, 356s, but the 904 was the first kind of purpose-built fiberglass car, and then a 906. But those two cars were very much, you know, street car equipment.
Yeah.
The 910 was the first car using all, you know, the latest Formula One technology. So this car won its category at Le Mans in '69. Again, finishing in the top 10. Great videos of this car. So it's important to me that it walked the walk.
Yeah.
And I love Le Mans, and being a proud American, this next car is one of my favorites. This car
jumped from the 60s to
right. Well, this is
present
09.
day almost,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, this is '09, and there's the trophy, and you can see the enthusiasm after 24 hours.
Yeah.
You've got, you know, legions of enthusiasts lined up. I've been to Le Mans a few times, and it's a 24-hour race. And it used to be an endurance race, now it's a sprint race. So this car was second in '08, won its class in '09, the first, you know, GT car to finish. Before this were the prototypes. So this is a very historic car. It raced 15 times. My recollection is that 111 came in second at like 3 times and DNF'd once. So
and a Mark Royce and Mike Simcoe special.
Oh yeah,
those
yeah,
guys
I think they're very proud of this.
Very proud of this vehicle.
Yeah, yeah. As am I. I like that American flag on there.
Absolutely. So did you put the luggage, my luggage, in the back of this car?
Yeah, I got it ready to go.
You've got my luggage here in this
Jason,
one.
it's all packed and ready for you. I bought this car from Clark Gable's widow, and it still has.
And there it is.
Yeah, there it is. Still has his luggage. It's never been restored. And
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was a long, it took me years to acquire this car. I bought it in 1981, but the story about Clark, he was filming The Misfits in Las Vegas, and he passed away there. It was with Marilyn Monroe. So this is a very original car. We took it to Pebble Beach. I thought, why do they want it? Well, anyways, we won a prize with it, so I was very happy with that.
No kidding.
And preservation, you know.
Yes.
And the other significant Corvette is the white Corvette. That was the very first Corvette to race at Le Mans. That's 1960.
With an image of that
And
that
that's
time
the
in
image
background.
behind it. Yep. Briggs Cunningham, proud American, won the America's Cup. He'd always wanted to win Le Mans. Yeah. So he fielded 3 cars, 1, 2, and 3. And I mean, they did well. They won their class.
Yeah.
They didn't win overall, but I mean, this was the first Corvette effort. And I feel very fortunate. This was restored by Mike Pillsbury. He did awesome job over a number of years.
Let's not overlook this beautiful yellow
well,
Ferrari behind you.
This was this was 1967. I was driving a Porsche. I went in, the Porsche dealer here in town was Auto Zipper. And I pulled in the back, and this car was there. And I thought I had just seen my first Countach or Muir. I mean, it was just unbelievable. This is a 4-cam, so it's a 67 GTB 4-cam. I bought this car in 1970. I know my net worth at that time was $10,750. I mean, I scraped together to buy that car. And right after I bought it, a gentleman wanted to trade me straight across for a GTO. But at that point, GTOs were selling for $7,000, $8,000, and I thought, why would I downgrade?
Right.
Little did I know.
Yeah, you told that story in the show
Tens
too.
of millions on the table. So
Look at this beauty.
This is a Chicago car. Although all Duesenbergs were made in Auburn, Indiana, the bodies were made. You bought basically a chassis.
Yeah.
So the body of this car was made right here in California, Pasadena, California, for Colonel McCormick. And you got to stand right in front here and look into that.
This is the famous McCormick place.
That McCormick place. He owned the Chicago Tribune, but that windshield is so chopped. And I love chopped cars, you know. I'm a hot rod guy, and a friend of mine said, "Can you see out of that? Do you fit in?" I said, "It's not important. You just have to look cool." So this is one of those cars that is extremely extreme in the laid-back windshield. And,
God, the length on it too.
oh, this is massive.
Yeah.
It's just massive.
2 parking spots.
It's you know, 19 feet long.
Right.
So this is probably my most significant Porsche, and this car is a 1979 Porsche 935 K3. It won Le Mans in '79, and it wasn't supposed to win because Porsche fielded their own prototypes. The 936s. So this car was, you know, supposed to win its Group 5 category, but never overall. And it did. It won overall. So this should be under glass at the Porsche Museum, but we're keeping it for.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't asked you for it already.
You know,
but maybe they have.
They do ask me for it from time to time,
Yeah.
and I'm happy to share it with
Sure.
them. Because I think, you know, none of us own this stuff.
Right. Right.
We're just caretakers.
We're just renting for a temporary period of time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I feel that this really does belong to Porsche and Porsche Heritage.
They probably want this one too.
Sure. This one here is an interesting car because when Porsche decided they wanted to go Group 5 racing or GT racing, they had to homologate the cars. So this is a homologation car. This is a 73 RS homologation. There were only 17 of these. So this is a car I just finished. Canepa just restored it, as Canepa also restored this car here. But it's absolutely accurate. It was restored first time by Nate Cantwell, and he's a very well-known Porsche restorer, so it's got great pedigree. You know, when you buy these race cars, this was first delivered to Ben Pon in Belgium, then it went to Vashik Pollock in Huntington Beach, and then it went to John Paul and John Paul Sr. So this was John Paul Jr.'s first race car. But when you buy a race car, you've got to know that continuous history, because there are famous cars that just appear.
Yeah.
And with Porsches especially, RSs and RSRs, and like a Cobra, you could create it today. So you have to be really careful that you're buying the real deal. So you got to watch that chain of ownership, which we did here, and as well as here, because this went right from Le Mans to the Indy Speedway Museum, and I had restored a very famous Indy car. I'd lent it to the Indy Museum for a number of years, and they decided I wanted it because I was putting this together. They wanted it back, and make a long story short, we did an exchange of types. So.
Amazing. Now it sits
here.
here.
But growing up in LA, in Hollywood, I mean,
this is the
motorcycles
fun stuff
and hot rods.
This is the fun stuff.
And I always wanted to race at Bonneville. I always wanted to go over 200 miles an hour. And I always wanted to go in a roadster, because the roadsters are kind of like the bull riders, you know. You can get in a very cozy coupe and go 200, but to do it out in the open in a roadster like this is another experience. So anyways, we had a great time in this. A Chevy, basically a big block Chevy, 1,000 horsepower, and just great fun.
And you got the red hat.
I got the red hat.
The infamous red hat.
Yeah, that red hat.
Those are coveted red hats.
They really are. You know, you learn a lot about Bonneville when you go, and the guys walking in the red hats are the cool guys.
Those are the cool guys.
And thanks to Jack Rogers, who really kind of made that all happen for me.
So a few other fun things.
Yeah, these are just,
Snake's vehicle.
The Snake, right. So this is a famous belly tank racer from Bonneville back in 1950, Alex Exidius, SoCal Speed Shop. This is probably the winningest dragster in the history of the sport. This is Don Prudhomme's car, and this raced 241 races and lost only 4 in its entire career. So
wow.
It's just, the win-loss record is crazy, and
the greatest of all time.
The greatest of all time.
Snake.
And you know, the Snake, and what a good guy, you know. So Tom Greer had the money, Keith Black built boat engines and was kind of the Hemi guy, and Don Prudhomme put it all together and was an amazing driver.
It's the same color behind it, but a very different story, that little guy over there. Tell us about...
Yeah, that little guy. I acquired that a year ago, maybe a little longer, from its original builder, a fellow named Jimmy Amani. And if you look in Hot Rod Magazine 1959, it's all about go-karts. So go-karts are really coming on strong. So Jimmy Amani built this kart himself. He worked for McCullough, so we got twin McCullough, the right engines, and went to the World Championship in Nassau, Grand Bahamas. And Dan Gurney was in that race. There were a whole, it wasn't just a bunch of hacks getting together and running around in a parking lot, which is how go-kart started.
Right.
It was a world-class field, and he won overall, which was amazing. So this is the very first overall world championship kart. And it's all Jimmy Amani. He built it, he drove it, he campaigned it. And the prize money, it has new tires on it now, but at the time, he ran retread tires, and he lost out on $500 prize money if he'd have run new tires. So, anyways.
You got your left hand on Miss Daytona. What is the story of Miss Daytona here?
Right.
Unlike anything else in this shop.
Yeah, this is fish out of water.
Yeah, it is.
but basically, this is a Miller engine, which is a Los Angeles company. The boat it's an East Coast boat. Doug Morin from Bay City restored it for us. I did its test runs on the Saginaw River in
Michigan, yeah.
So it was quite a thrill. I mean, you got basically an Offie, because Miller went broke and sold it to Fred Offenhauser. So it's an Offie 4-cylinder, you know, blowing smoke and deafening you right in your face. And I don't plan ahead, but it was an amazing trip. So I don't want to just bypass the gullwing, but it's just another gullwing. but
This was in the museum I saw last fall.
Right.
I mean, you lend it out quite regularly.
I do,
to the
and we
museum.
drive it.
Yeah.
So basically, I think if you had the perfect car, one car,
Yeah.
and you only could have one car, I don't see how you could do better than a Gullwing. The build quality, the workmanship, the rarity, the beauty. If you were Chip Foose, there's nothing you could do to this car to make it any prettier.
I drove this at the 50th anniversary of the Gullwing
did you?
in Germany, right outside of Stuttgart, and it was a blast to drive.
I mean, this is a 1955 car.
Right.
I mean, what more could you ask for? Well over 100 miles an hour, depending on how you have it geared. And, it's built like a vault.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
That
it's got
sound would win awards.
That's right. That's right. So my first old car in 1964 was a Gullwing, and I sold it to my fraternity brother, and he still has it today, just like it was. It had a Chevy engine, and I should parenthetically say that. In all fairness, as much as I love this, you put a Chevy in this thing, it really turns it into a whole different car.
I guess it would.
But I'm very happy with this. Is all stock, delivered new with Reg wheels, and so I like that.
Let's end on these two few beauties you have here on the right.
Well, I know Alex likes the yellow one.
Well, so the yellow one is pretty special for you, I know.
Yeah, he recognized that right off the bat. So that's a Yellowbird. A Yellowbird is actually what they call a CTR, Group C Turbo Roof. And this is CTR 001. So this is the very first car. It went to Japan. I bought it at least 5 years ago, maybe longer. I actually bought it was at roof, and Alois painted it. The interior's all original. We rebuilt the engine, original engine that was in it, but it's rebuilt. And it's, close to 600 horsepower, rear-wheel drive.
Wow.
It's a handful.
I bet it would be a handful.
I don't take it to the extreme, but I enjoy it. The car over there on the platform, Ferrari, in their studies, said that's the winningest Ferrari in their history. So what it is, basically, it won, I think, over 50 races. No, it didn't win Le Mans, Targa Florio, Mille Miglia. It ran local races. And Nevada, Riverside, Santa Barbara, Avondero, Mexico. It raced at Nassau Speed Week, but it was a big-time winner. So that's a 1957 Testarossa. There's a picture on the wall with Ken Miles, Ford versus Ferrari. That's him driving it.
Yes.
Next to him is Jack McAfee and Billy Krause. Von Neumann sold it. He sold it to Auto Zipper, and then Ken Miles raced it for Auto. And that's a picture from Porter Ranch, a local track.
This could easily belong in the vault of the Peterson, couldn't it?
It could.
Because of its the rare nature of it, the success that it had. You have, of course, the most rare Ferrari in that vault, the number one.
Oh yeah,
Ferrari.
right. That's not my personal car,
Right.
but
the museum does.
Car. Yeah, and this is
could
I
belong
think one of the
next
most beautiful Ferraris ever built.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just doesn't. It's like the Gullwing, just doesn't have a bad angle.
Nope.
And this has got gobs of power.
Let's end on this guy tucked in the corner.
Well, this one was found in a barn in France. They wrote a book about it called Sleeping Beauties. This was the car when it was found. So it was restored by a very famous Frenchman, Jean Lecoq, and he restored it about 30 years ago. I've had it probably 20, and I drive it around town. It's not a show car. I usually take it to Pebble Beach when I'm running around Pebble Beach,
Incredible. A barn find.
A barn find, yeah.
In France.
Yeah, in France. It was restored in France. But anyway, so that's how we roll, and I welcome everybody, and it's a pleasure being here with you, Jason.
You're the ultimate caretaker.
Thank
you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You're a great man, and you've got some terrific interviews that you're sharing with everybody.
Thank you.
I know we appreciate that, and it's nice to have your cameraman, Alex, here too.
Thanks for having us on Cars and Culture on the Road.
Anytime.